Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Misfit Happy Hour. I'm your host today, Ronchero. I'm joined by Matt Greinacher. Matt is down in the trade space office in Puerto Rico, and I wanted to talk to Matt today because Matt is one of the newer additions to the not only to the trade space office, but trading has been a pending or a blooming career for you for a few years. And Matt, you're in your 20s, so there are a lot of people that are probably in situations similar, like, hey, I'm young, I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do with my career, and you have carved a path, or at least you're carving a path to becoming an independent trader. And I think for your generation in particular, they don't do things similarly from a corporate world standpoint, whereas they traditionally have been done. So I'm actually I'm envious of you that you get to start this at the age that you're at, and also you're starting it in a location that offers a lot of not just diversification from the geographic place where it's at, but you're in a U.S. territory, so you don't have a lot of the same types of regulation, taxation, those kinds of things. It's all really super interesting. So why don't we just kick it off with how you got into trading and what led you to make the decision to just pick up everything that you know from when you were growing up and just go down to San Juan, Puerto Rico. Like that's a big deal.
It was a big leap, definitely. So it's like, I've been involved in the market since I was like 18. But more invested, of course. Like I opened a Roth IRA as soon as I turned 18. I bought some Vanguard funds, which I've since sold because I am like, wait, I'm more of a degenerate. Like I want to bet on some growth names. And of course they're down terribly, but so like I was always like interested in that. I majored in finance and analytics at the University of Cincinnati, but I knew I didn't want to go the traditional route. Like everyone that I was friends with and that I knew, it was like, we would have, JP Morgan come talk to us or Deloitte come talk to us. And it's like, they all loved that. And I was always the guy that's like, well, I don't like these people, because it's like, they're like, oh, everyone's asking like, oh, like what's the workflow like, whatever. And I'm like, I have a question about your company. Like, why did you why did you do the underwriting on this Chinese fraud? You know what I mean? Right. And they're just like, wait, what? And I'm like, yeah, like there are like 5 fraudulent Chinese companies that you like fleece US investors on. And so it's like, sure, I was being kind of a dick about it, but it's, it's like, I knew that it's like, they're selling you a bag of goods that's like, it's not real. They're selling you some dream of like, oh, you're your own boss. Like I'm sure you've seen some of these, like the day in the life of a tech employee. And it's like, like, oh, first I got my lunch and my breakfast here, and then I Ubered in, and then I got, it's like, you don't do shit. And it's just like, you've just been at some office eating all day. Right. And it's like, they try to sell you that dream. I wasn't buying. So that's where I got interested into trading. And I was just like trading in class, to be honest. I followed.
Wait a second. You're sitting in class with your laptop trading?
Yeah. So like not super active. It was like more of a swing style of trades. Like I wasn't like doing like now where it's like I'm coming in looking for setups every day. But I would be in class and it's like, I would, starting to trade options just like by doing it. But no one else was like into this, right? Like this was before like COVID and the whole day trading bonanza fest that came out of that, where it's like I was like the weird dude that just like wasn't paying attention in class because I was like, this joker doesn't know what he's talking about. And which like is also true, because I would ask them about option stuff and they're like, oh, I don't, like they're a finance professor, I don't mess with options, it's too risky. I was just like, why are you teaching this shit? It's like, what, like you've never even done it? They're like, no. So that's how I got into it. I was following Wall Street Jesus and like, just the public thing at the time. It's like, that's how I kind of got into the Sang Lucci verse, right?
How did you find Wall Street Jesus? Like, were you just like,
I don't know. It must have just showed up. I think it just showed up like on my Twitter feed at some point. And I was like, oh, I'll check this out. And I think also too, it was like funny. I don't really remember how that happened.
Okay.
Or you know what, actually, because like I know how I found out about like Sang Lucci, this like the company, and this what it like led me to eventually work for Lucci was it was QTR, Quote the Raven
Oh yeah.
podcast with Chris
Yeah, his
Irons,
podcast for sure.
because we do promotion for that.
Yep.
And so like that's how I think I found out about it. And that's where I was like, I was following Jesus on Twitter and like trying to trade off of some of the flow. And I was like, I want more. And then, you know, they were doing the trials. And so like I just signed up for a trial and I fell in love with it. And then I asked my parents to loan me the money for the subscription because I cannot afford it as a college student. And you know, and then at one point, like again, like sort of back to the original story where I didn't want to go the traditional route. So like I didn't have any job prospects after school. Like, you know, I was going in my last semester and I was like, well, I don't want to work for any of these companies. None of this interests me. You know, I didn't want to be like some Excel monkey, basically, because that's kind of what I found out it was from everyone that had these internships.
Yeah.
And so I just asked, I actually DM'd Jesus in a platform. I don't think he saw it. Like, since I've talked to him, and he's just like, I don't
He
ever
never
check the
sees it.
DMs. He never sees them.
He never sees it.
I have to email him. It's so funny. It's like I have to email him. That's how I communicate with him. And because you can't call them either, you have 7 phones. Like
Right.
you don't know,
Yep.
what number. Like so, all good. But
Nobody knows what he looks like either. Like, so
yeah, that's the other thing. So I wanna like force that where it's like, hey, I want to know how the flow works. I want to come stay at your place for a month. Like
right.
we're
He's,
gonna
yeah, he's
we're
like
gonna
the
learn this
wizard.
together, right? And so and then Charlie posted you know, an internship opportunity in the room, and I applied. You know, I wrote a little essay, and they were like, "Oh, this guy's interesting. Like, let's give him a shot." And then I was like, "All right, like time to grind." And then that turned into a professional gig last year or full time position after I came down to Puerto
So
Rico.
was your when they posted for an internship, tell me what that process was like. I mean, did you just happen to see it? I'm trying to remember if I remember Charlie telling me about that or posting it. I
It
can't
was an off
remember
topic. So it
clearly.
was in the off topic room, and I
Oh,
just
okay.
saw it. And remind you though, this was like right after I had DM'd Jesus about potentially
Oh,
interning. So like
okay.
I was like, oh, like he saw and told, of course he did see it and tell Charlie, but it was just like the timing. So it's like I was already in that mindset of like,
Yep.
hey, I want to work for these guys. Like I want to learn more.
So did
And so
you
that's how that led.
when you reached that point where when they asked you to write an essay, or was it, hey, if you want this internship, write us an essay? Did you have follow-up called? Like, did you interview with Charlie or Lucci, or did you talk to those
No,
guys?
it was definitely Norse.
Oh, it
Norse
was
is
Norse.
basically
Okay.
Norse is basically the one that found me.
Yeah.
Um, which is awesome. Like we have like a great bond from that.
So
Uh,
what was that process like? Because I can,
I don't even remember.
for
I
those
think
of
it
you
was a
guys,
call. I think it was a call. Like I wrote this essay and then maybe we
yeah.
hopped on the phone because it started off like, it started off with just like very like, I don't want to say low level work, but it was like, hey, you're going to do like these specific things.
Mhm.
And it's like, and the thing too, right? It's unpaid. Like you're doing this because you want to do this and prove yourself. And like
Yeah.
I'd had an unpaid internship before. I used to not buy into that because I did think it was like kind of shitty, to be honest.
Yeah.
Um, but I did an unpaid internship in Cape Town the year before. And so I knew like, oh, these are very valuable, like the connections you meet and the people, and like you see how a business works. Like I worked with like I had 4 coworkers. You're gonna see what
When
that business looks like.
when you say Cape Town, do you mean Cape Town, South
South
Africa?
Africa. Yeah.
Did you physically go, or was this from a
Yeah. I
college?
know I went there for 3 months
Oh,
in
okay. So you're not a
2018.
stranger to like picking up and going
No,
someplace
no,
then.
no, no, no.
Okay.
But there was an end date, right? When I went this
Yeah.
time, there wasn't an end date. It was just me leaving. But so yeah, so I happened going into that, right? Like with COVID, I was back at home and you know, finishing up school, and basically like I wanted to move out of my parents' house because I was like, holy shit, like this is a little embarrassing. Like I need to leave. Like I can't be the one guy like at home, you know, like always asking people for rides and just like not, you know, you're just not like that you're a loser, but it's like it was kind of like you was pushing it, right? And then I was just like, all right, like let's do Puerto Rico. And I'd been down here last year, so I knew I wanted to come down. And that's when I met Lucci for the first time. And
Okay.
I told him, I was like, hey, like, I really want to come down. And he was just like, whatever. Like,
So
sure.
he kind of gave you a cold shoulder, like, or how
In
was
it, so in the sense of like he knew I worked for him, but it was in the sense of like everyone says, "Oh, I'm gonna come down, man. I'm gonna come down," and then
okay.
he's just like, "Cool, like I'll see you when I see you."
So
And then I came
nobody,
down, and I was
no,
like, "What's up?"
it's no, and nobody said to you, "Hey, Matt, we've got a place for you here.
No.
Just come to you." You basically declared, "I'm coming. I want to come down. I'm going to create a space for myself in Puerto Rico, and
Yep.
Lucci, you're gonna hire me, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
work for you." So you, I
Yep. Pretty
mean,
much.
you basically have, and you have a drive. And when I talk to you, like I think your Midwest roots keep you grounded and humble. You don't come across as somebody who's going to be like, who has that that punch, that drive that other people like verbalize
Yeah.
but don't follow through on. I think it's, I didn't know that about you. That's
Yeah.
cool. You got to have
I've
that
learned to
drive to
listen.
do
I've
that though.
learned to listen. Like Lucci even commented on it a few weeks ago. He's just like, you listen a lot and like give advice to people. He's like, but then like you're not taking your own advice. So he was like, why are you participating in these conversations? And I was just like, damn, like I needed to hear that, but all right, and like he's right, like he's definitely right. But yeah, I don't know. I try not like I would say like the one thing I can brag about, and this is just like a little personal thing. Like I've been playing violin since I was 4. So it's like, yeah, like I'm very good at violin. Like I don't like to, that's like the one thing that I've always had. And people are always, it's like awkward when someone's like, oh, you've been playing for this long, you must be so good. And it's just like, what do you say? Like, yeah, I'm the shit. It's like, it's just weird. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't like that. I don't like tooting my own horn.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's like I've had this drive, again, with realizing, again, like going home these past couple of weeks, everything was the same. It was the same when I left 5 months ago. My friends
Yep.
are at the same jobs, they're doing the
Yep.
same,
Doing the
whatever.
same
And it's just
thing.
like,
Going to the
cool.
same bars, having the same drinks.
Yeah. And I don't like that. That's why I left.
Yeah.
And this is like, it was just a good reminder of like, okay, I made the right decision. I mean, of course, the weather for sure, but like even just the people, there was a reason why I had to bet on myself and just like, no, I'm going to take this leap. Um, and again, like a lot of people were like, oh, you're crazy. I was like, cool. Well, see you at Thanksgiving,
Are any of your siblings or your parents that
I'm an
way, or
only child.
you're the okay? So
Yeah.
are either of your parents that way? Like, are you the one of them risk taker type of people, or
Not really, no. Which is probably a good thing to an extent. I don't know. I definitely see traits from my mom and my dad, right? Like my dad is like when I was saying like that I'm like being the dick to the professor and like that's my dad, right? That's like he's the dude that he sued the German government so that he wouldn't have to do mandatory like conscription. You know what I mean? Because he was like, no, I'll do civil service. Because he's a pacifist. He's just like, no, I'll do civil service, but like,
yeah,
I'm not going to hold a gun. And they were like, well, you have to. And he sued and he won, right? But it's like, who sues the government? You know what I mean? Like, that's an insane behavior trait, right? So
yeah,
it's, yeah, like I definitely see that, where I've gotten that from him. But the risk taking, no, that was always me. And, you know, they, they're not used to it, right? It's like you talk about, like I can't talk about trading with them. That's why I
oh, I
love
know.
being around here because it's
Yeah,
like I know we talked about that where it's like
yeah,
you don't take any of it home with you, or like when you visit your parents, they're like, what, like you click buttons, like what do you do again? It's like, yeah, whatever, don't worry about it.
yeah. I get, I'll get sometimes I'll get my mom going, because she'll ask. She'll be like, hey,
Mhm.
what do you do again? Or she's got shares in, like she's got shares in Boeing, right? And she's like, well,
Oh no.
when can I sell this Boeing? And then my dad always chimes in with his opinion, and he's the kind of guy that can't be wrong about anything.
Mm. So he can't
Nothing.
be a trader. He can't be a trader then.
No.
Because he
So
can't
when
admit he's wrong.
I was like giving my mom a little dissertation on, here's how you look at a chart, and you're never going to catch the top, you're never going to catch the bottom, but you don't want to be in this area, you want to be in a better spot. So are you dying for this money? If you're not, there's no reason to not just sit here and continue to collect the dividends. And in the whole time, my dad is just chirping, right? And I'm like, dude, I'm like, shut up, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I would say it's kind of funny now because like none of my friends trade, right? Like back home, like none of them are risk on people, shall we say, in that regard, right? They'll take some life risks, but like they won't take financial risks, which to me is interesting. It's like, and that like for me, it's like they go together, they go hand in hand. So it's like I don't know why you wouldn't do that. But yeah, they'll be like, oh, like what do you think of this stock or this, whatever. I'm just like, no, we're not talking about this. Cause it's like, I used to think, oh, fundamentals. And I'm like, I don't give a shit what the company does. You know what I mean? It's like, can I trade it? Is it volatile? Like, does it have weeklies? You know what I mean? It's like, that's it. Right. Exactly. That's it. Or if it doesn't move, like, can I just sell like options? And it doesn't matter.
Exactly. So all right. So let me take you back just a little bit. So you reach to the point where you decide you're going to pack up, you're going to move down to Puerto Rico. You move down there. How do you find an apartment? And then within a very short time of you being down there, a freaking hurricane goes through there, right?
Yeah, that was interesting. The apartment was super easy. Like people were like, oh, it's so hard to find an apartment. I found an apartment in like a week.
So is it like that? If somebody comes down there now, is it easy to find some place to rent?
I think it just depends. Like I went on like Clasificados, which is like it's like equivalent to like a Craigslist basically.
Yeah.
But I just found an apartment and I called the lady and I was like, hey, like, what's up? Is this available? And yes, it was. And it's a 5-minute walk to the office. And I'm like, cool. That's like, perfect. I'll take it. It's like, great. That was it. And people were like, oh, it took me 2 months. I'm like, why? Like, it was very easy. But again, that's also, again, too, like to the point of being driven where I had an Airbnb for a month. So I had a month to not be homeless.
Yeah.
It's a pretty clear objective, pretty clear timeline. It's just like, hey, it's like an option. Like it's gonna expire. Yeah. It's like, what are you gonna do? Like you have to make a decision. You have to do something. And I did, and it was fine.
Right.
So then the hurricane.
That was bad.
So there was a really bad tropical storm supposedly when I first got down here, but it didn't happen. Right. It like missed the island, but everyone's still like freaked out, right? Like everyone's stocking on food and whatever, all these things. But then it missed us. So I'm just like, I incorrectly assumed like, okay, like people overreact. They have PTSD from like Maria, like totally understandable, right? But it's like maybe this is like an overreaction type of thing. I didn't even know that Fiona was coming. I found out because Lucci's beach tennis tournament was canceled, and I was just like, why'd they cancel it? Like they never cancel those things. And then he was just like basically calling me a herd for like not knowing that we were about to get hit by a hurricane. And I was just like, dude, I look out the window, like that's my weather app. Like I don't know. And so I didn't take it seriously at all. Like I had no food in my fridge. Like I hadn't gone to the grocery store because I live next to a 24/7 grocery store. Except it's 24/7 unless there's a hurricane. So like they closed it. I ran out of food over the weekend. So that was like a pretty good wake up call of like, okay, like maybe they're right. Like maybe there's a reason to freak out a little bit. But it was bad. Like we were super lucky, like there were some trees that got knocked down. There was some damage in San Juan, but we went to like one of the guys here, he lives out in Vega Baja, and it was like, it's like 20 minutes away and like a smaller town, and they got wrecked. You know what I mean? Like there, you just see people taking furniture out onto the street, and it's just sad because it's like this is the process where they're just like, okay, like cool, all our shit is gone, like start again.
Wow.
And it's just like,
is there do they have a similar, everything that I've heard from people that live down there, and you probably can tell me the same, is that the electrical in the country is wonky, and if they have disruptions, it can be really challenging to get back up and running again, right?
Yeah, and again, I don't know. It's the company's called Luma. I just know that everyone hates Luma, and it's like you're just like cool. Like I'm not gonna defend them. Like I don't know, but yeah, from what I've seen, it's pretty badly managed. You basically have one. Like, I mean, it's like, I don't know. I guess I think like Cincinnati, we have Duke Energy, and it's just like same thing. You know, it's like, oh, they restore the wealthy area first, and then they come and trickle down to everyone else, right? It's like it's kind of how it is everywhere. But they seem to be like extremely incompetent down here. So again, it's like, hey, whatever. Like, yeah, but what are you gonna do? Like, I can't do anything about that. Um,
Right.
and then, so it's just more one of those things where like you feel bad, and like, again, like I'm blessed for the fact that like I was fine. Like there were people
How
that were not fine, and like we went and helped some of them out. Like at the town Big About, like we went there and like handed out like some essential supplies because like
Yeah,
they
that's
lost
that's a
everything.
that's a that's a good way to, if you're all in the middle of it, it's a good way to help out
Yeah,
and give back to each other. That is cool.
yeah, and the community here is so incredible. I don't like, and I don't know if that's like the Caribbean thing, like more like the Latino thing, but like you
Well,
don't have community like
culturally,
that.
they're there to help each other. If somebody's
Yeah,
having a hard time, they will help each other. That's
exactly.
that's
And
a
it's like,
nice.
sure, my parents' street in Cincinnati is like that, but can you say that for like the whole city, like the
Oh,
whole no, the whole neighborhood even? Like, no
I don't think
chance.
so.
It's
Yeah.
like it's a much smaller, like honestly, and you see that it's way bigger here, where it's like, yeah, people really care about each other. Um, and yeah, it's like people come together in those times. Like, like Lucci opened up trade space for people that like lost power, lost water to
Oh,
come in.
he
Like,
had some people sleeping there.
yeah, not
Wow.
sleeping, but like coming in during the day, like, hey, if you need to take a shower, if you need to like charge your phone
Gotcha.
and computer, right? Where it's like that was like people just stepped up where they could. It's like, hey, I have this spot. I am ingrained in the community here. Like, this is what I can do to help. Like for
Yeah.
me, I can't do shit to help. I can donate money for supplies and then go help in like handing them out. Like that's how I can help because
Right.
like this is we're at different levels, obviously. Like where with just where we are in life, but everyone was trying to do something, and that's what I think is incredible.
That's cool.
Just being down here. Yeah.
That's cool. All right, so let's shift gears. So now I know that
Sure.
you're like the rest of us. You got dropped on your head as a baby,
Yeah,
and
of
you're a
course.
little delusional like all of us.
Yep.
And you picked up, you talked Charlie and Lucci into giving you a job. You
I know,
found your way
right?
down to Puerto Rico. You set yourself up. You have no food in your refrigerator and think a hurricane's not a big deal.
I
So
don't have food right now either. I just got back and I still haven't bought any
so I
food, so it's deja vu.
I definitely know you're crazy now. So that's good
Yeah,
to know. You don't looking at you, you don't look like it, but I know that you are a lunatic now. So
yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
good to know. So you get down there and you set up your what did you do? Did you have an interactive broker account? Did you, not that a platform
Yeah, so
is
I've been
important, but
right. Like, I mean, I've already been trading for a bit. So the only thing, like, I haven't done the tax incentives yet, just because
yeah,
I'm not there yet
yep,
in terms of my trading.
yep,
But I'm surrounded by people who are, right. So it's like
yeah,
you see how the game works, which is again like back to my point of people not really doing shit back home where they're just
yep,
fine with the status quo. Here it's like you're constantly trying to level up, right? And so like being around people like that is
yeah,
it's a very underutilized like component of like your network, basically like constantly pushing you, like Lucci calling me out and being like, why are you participating in these conversations if you don't even follow your own advice? And you're just
right.
like, damn, like no friend back home is going to tell you that to your face,
Tough
like
love.
no chance.
You get
And this
tough
is
love
my
from
boss, like
Lucci,
this is the dude that pays me. It's like that's even
right?
more like blatant. It's like he's just like, hey, like
Whoa.
get your shit together. And I'm like, okay, got you. But yes, like I was trading, like nothing. The only thing that really changed trading wise was like the setup here at the office, like which
Mhm.
is funny because I traded when I was back home over Thanksgiving, and it was the worst experience ever. It was just
Yeah,
like
it's
it's
a
like
big deal when
small, like
people don't
flat
realize it.
top. Yeah,
Yes, I
it's I
mean
can't do it.
you don't, the only thing you should do from your phone is close a position. If you don't have all of the normal tools that you're used to using, it's pretty difficult
Yeah.
to do what you need to do.
Well,
You
I would say it's
you
probably
really
like
need to.
going from like the Porsche, the Porsche 911 Carrera to
Yeah.
like a Prius, and then you're
Yep.
just like, wow, like this
Yeah,
is
it
bad. Like,
goes.
what am I
Yeah.
doing? Like, just chill for a week, man. Like, take your vacation.
Yep. And it's not just any Prius. It's like a really like one of the first generation that's got like
Yeah.
140,000 miles on it. And whoever owned it before you was a smoker and didn't shower. And
Right. It just reeks. Or it's like
exactly.
some animal died in there and you can't get the stink out 5 years later. Right.
Exactly.
So,
So tell me about your growth from when you
mhm.
showed up to where you're at, because you show up there
Yeah.
and you're surrounded by a ton of people who have all different types of experience that trade different things, that
Mm.
are probably chirping in your ear, you need to do this or you need to do this, or I can help you do
Not
this, I
as
can help
not
you
as
do
much
that.
as
What
that.
was that like?
It's more of like you have people. I think it's more like a wide range of traders, right? Like you have people
Yeah,
down here that are doing like small caps only, and I'm
yeah,
like, nah, I'm good. Yeah, it's
yeah,
like no
yeah,
thanks.
yeah.
Which is like it's cool. Like it's very interesting to look at it, but it's not my thing. Like I know that already. And and I think too, it's like when you first start trading, I think a lot of people uh can relate to this. You try to do everything because you don't know what you're good at, you don't know what you're bad at, you're trying to just figure that out. And I definitely learned what I'm bad at when I came down here.
Tell us what you're bad at. What do you suck at?
I'm really bad at scalping, man. Like
Oh,
I
okay.
had to be reminded of that again like a couple of weeks ago because it was just like, yeah, I'm too slow. Like I can't react fast enough. It's just like I put something on and then like, oh, now I'm down like 40%. And it's just like I should have been out of this already. And it's like that, right? But that's fine. This is like, okay, like, so I'm just dropping my head, like, I'm a little slow, like, I can't execute as fast as everyone else, like, fine, but then just don't take those trades. So I learned that again. That's the other thing about me. I have to learn something a good 4 or 5 times,
Yep.
which is unfortunate because usually when I have to learn, it's like I'm wiping out a good amount of capital with that
Yeah.
experience. The other
The
thing,
lessons are expensive. Yeah.
right. The lessons are very expensive.
Yep.
So I paid a good amount of tuition, right? This is the other thing, and I think this is probably the smartest thing that like my parents understand. They're like, because they pushed for me to go to grad school. Like my parents, they teach at the university. So I got free college tuition. And I would have been able to get a free MBA as well. But again, mind you, like I already think the bachelor's is useless. Like, why do I care about getting another piece of paper? I'm just like, whatever, right? I'm not interested in this. But they were like, you're gonna get a job or you're going to go to school. And so I was just like, Lucci, Charlie, please hire me. Please hire me. Like, I cannot do
I
this.
need a job or I'm
I
gonna
need
have
a
to go
job.
back to
Right. Right.
school.
I literally said that. I said this to Nico. I was like, I need to hear about if I'm going to be full time because, like, I'm going to have to go back to school and I do not want to go back to school. Like, I gave up all my bargaining power. I was just like, I don't want to go back. Like, please just, I could have been like, oh, well, I'm gonna make this other decision. I was like, I'm not making that decision. Like, please, please. But they said like, this is like graduate school where it's like, think of that where, when you're like learning, it's like you are paying tuition and it's like, okay, so treat it like you're in school, like take it seriously. Like you're trying to get good grades, you're trying to whatever, have a good GPA, all of that stuff. Like you have to take it seriously. So for me, that's like, not, I don't journal my trades, but like like I do trader things. So it's like one of those where I'm looking at like, hey, specifically, what am I doing wrong? Right. Like, and I can
Yeah.
see, for example, my blowups have mainly occurred on Fridays. Isn't that a little interesting stat? Friday
So
is my
on
worst
Fridays, so
performing day.
you're trading expiring options on Fridays then?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Correct. Right. But
That's
that's the
our
thing.
thing.
It's like, it's funny though, right? Because like people are like, because I also fell into this trap where, and I'll go into this like last year in like October, I thought I found a magic strategy, whatever, where I would trade Tesla 0 days to expiration because
Yeah.
they're way cheaper, right?
Yeah, for
And
sure.
it worked. It worked for like 3 weeks.
Hmm.
And the only problem was that I didn't know what to do when it didn't work, right? I didn't have a strategy. It was just like, oh, well, this works. I'm going to just keep pressing the button. And then it doesn't work. And I remember because I just kept buying them. I just kept adding and adding and adding. I had like 100 lot of like some shit that's going to zero. And you're just like, what are you doing? So like basically I doubled my account and then I went what? So I guess it would have been like a double and then minus 80%. So it's like so it's like for math, like I went from 20K to 50K to 10K. Right. So it's like it's not like, oh no, I gave up profits. No. Like I gave up way more than just the profits.
You're like, I
Um,
need that money back.
right. I was just like, oh shit, like well, that sucks. And this is all within like a month and a half, mind you. So it
Right.
was like a really like this was a very volatile month and a half.
And this is when
Mind
you,
you,
this is in Puerto Rico?
no, this was in Cincinnati still. So this was
Got
last
you. Okay.
October. I
All right.
came down in June, but that's
June.
when I
Okay.
was like, because again, it's like I had that beginner's luck, right? Where
Yep.
it's like, yeah, okay, bull market. You could
Yep.
like the flow was fantastic, right? You could trade like so I would do what Jesus does a lot, where he's like looking for like the momentum flow, and then
Yeah.
he would buy equity. So it's like I would be like, okay, they're bombing this $5 stock, and it's like, okay, I'm not going to buy the options because they suck, but like I'll buy the stock. I can
Yeah.
get as many shares as I want,
Yeah.
right? And you would get an instant like reaction, and that doesn't really work anymore because the flow is way more mixed.
Yep.
We're not in that trending market.
Correct.
So it's like I had that, beginner's luck, which of course then led me to think I was some hot shit. And then it's like, no, you're just shit. Like, you have to figure that out. But I think, I think it's a valuable lesson because not a lot of people talk about that. First of all, and that was one of the struggles with me coming down here is, everyone's already profitable. Everyone, like they've gone through that like time. And I'm at, we've talked about this too, where it's like, I'm at this like plateau now where it's like, I know what I'm doing and I know what not to do, but it's like,
Mhm.
I'm waiting on that consistent like breakout where it's like, you're just watching your P&L trend higher. Like I'm still sort of at this, like in this chop, right? From
Yep.
my like personal perspective. But again, it's also like the amount that I've learned just even being down here. But like this year specifically, but even like the last 5 months, it's like I've learned a lot of what not to do. And then you also learn like, okay, when someone's talking about something, you should look at it. Like when Lucci, okay, why would I counter trade Lucci? That's one thing, right? Why would you do that? If he's on one side, or like I would say something like, oh, I kind of like the NVIDIA long here. And then I'm like, whatever, oh, I get distracted, this doesn't work. And then he just goes long. And he just grabs like 100 lot. It's like, what the fuck? Like I can't, like you said, it's like I'll give out great advice and I can't listen to it, right? I can't act on my own shit. And
Right.
it's just like, and then he's just like, dude, like, what are you doing? Right. So like, we've had those conversations too. But that's again, it's like building that confidence. Like I've really like I think grown there. And just again starting to realize like what doesn't work. The other thing that doesn't work is SPX stuff, right? I can't directionally trade SPX because like I just mentally cannot handle it.
It is
So
wild.
yeah, it is. I mean, and that's fine, but it's just like, okay, so you blow up trades, and then it's like, do you want to keep being like a dumbass? Like, because at the end of the day, you're just like, dude, what are you doing? Especially too, as I said, it's on Friday. It's
Yeah.
always Friday, which ruins my weekend. And it's like, good then I'm at home watching Netflix, I'm all depressed, like, oh, and then I don't socialize, and then you're more depressed like going into the next week.
Right.
Right. And I'm just like,
Vicious
because then I'm
circle.
like, so me coming back down, right? The weather was huge where, like that was one of the reasons I moved, but you don't realize like how important that is, like for your mental health and your just like regular well-being.
Yep.
And then it's like the grass always greener, right? It's like, oh, I'm a little homesick. I'm ready to go home. And then I get home and I'm like, what is this? Like, this
Yeah. You're
is
like, I
terrible.
gotta get out of here.
I gotta get out, right? And then I
Yeah.
get back, and it's just like this feels more at home, which is very funny because again, I'm like, yeah, I'm a very Midwest guy,
But that's how it
and
works. I mean, I'm
yeah,
similar in regard because I grew up in the Midwest as well, and I could not, and no offense to anybody that's from the Midwest or still lives there, I couldn't wait to get out of there. I couldn't
yeah,
handle the geography. I didn't like, if there's going to be winter and snow and cold, like I need to be able to have some kind of recreation there, like skiing,
mhm,
right? I can't just
right,
walk outside and it be frozen and there's nothing to do except go
yeah,
back inside
right,
and not do anything. Like that kind of thing drives me nuts. So I completely empathize with you. You're in this place now, and this probably feels a lot like this is my home now, as opposed to when
yeah.
you go home, like, wow, this is just someplace I'm from. And
But
I
it's
think
it's
that
so
you're not
crazy
unique
because
in that.
it's so different, right? It's
Yep.
like I don't speak Spanish. Like, yeah, I'm teaching myself, but like you don't
Yeah.
speak it, and it's I mean at first too, and this is something else like that you gave me shit for. He's just like, man, like you gotta stop being like so worried about what this dude thinks about you. He's like, just speak Spanish. Like, yeah, it's gonna be terrible, but like that's how you learn. And I do that. Like people try to like, okay, whatever, go to the grocery store, ordering food. It's like, I will speak Spanish. Like you can speak in English. I will speak in Spanish. It's like, this is how I have to learn it. I'm sorry, it's gonna take a little bit longer. It's just like this is it. I can't cop out and just like, oh, well, they speak English, but I'll speak English. Because some people do
Right.
that too. And then you're
Yeah,
never gonna learn a language.
that's true.
Um,
So how is that going, by the way? Are you picking it up more now?
yeah, it was so I can understand a good amount. It's
Yeah.
the speaking because like
Yeah.
Puerto Ricans, man, they don't speak Spanish. They speak their
They
own
speak something
little
else.
thing. Yeah, they're just fast. It's really
Yeah.
fast. And I'm like, dude,
You're like, slow it
I
down.
can't. I'm like, please, slower, please. Begging.
That's
But
hilarious.
yeah, it's just it's been a great journey, man. And
So
I owe the team and like Lucy, Charlie, you like a lot. Just
so
even
who
for the
was it when
opportunity.
you got to the office and you got your desk and you started trading, et cetera, like who did you gravitate to one person? You told me what you're not
Well,
good
I
at.
sit next to
What are
Lucci,
you sit
so
next to Lucci?
I'm
Okay,
next to
there you go.
Lucci, so it's like there's that. Like you're there. Like there's no. It's not even like escaping it. It's like it's great for both of us,
Yeah.
right? But it's also like there's some days like I'll be like listening to your broadcast and then he's also live and it's like he's saying something to me, you're saying something to me, I'm trying to trade and I'm just like, hold on, guys, like calm down, like this is too much shit. And it's like right, I'm not a morning person, so it's like
That's kind of
my morning routine is I get up, I get ready, and I drink a coffee, and I go in. Like there's no like meditation, no. It's like I go in raw, and then it's like out immediately like in the firing zone. And
I
then
would
so like
have
it's funny, it's very
I would
funny.
have so much fun being down there and just like chirping at you guys all day
Yeah.
and
Oh
getting
yeah.
Lucci go. Like I think it would be a riot to go down in that environment. And I can't imagine, like I empathize with you sitting at your desk with your headphones on, having to listen to me when we're live trading and sitting next
Yeah.
to Lucci who's live trading. And then
Yeah.
Lucci's probably also chirping at his guys that are
Oh
trading
yeah.
on his
Oh
desk,
yeah.
right?
And then it's
So
like I'll be like selling course. It's like someone will be interested in the course and he's like, yo, Matt, like what's up with this? Or like, what's the news on this? And I'm just like, I don't know, man. Like I'm just looking at NVIDIA right here. Like that's what I got.
I'm trying to make
But
some money.
it's just funny too, because like I really like that was the other thing I realized about myself is like I think you're very good at. I mean, he is too, but it's like you're very good at just like being chill, like when you're trading. I'm not. I'm just like everyone needs to shut up. Like, do not talk to me. Like, I am going to stare at the chart and like I am going. It's like this is what I have to do. I need 100% focus, and I've gotten better about that. But I realized that I was like that. I did not realize that it was like, oh my god, if you're talking to me when I'm in a trade, like it's going to affect my trade
Yeah, you're
because
like, I can't do it.
I can't do it. Yeah, I
Yeah,
can't do it. But
yeah,
then it's like you learn to work around that where it's like, hey, like, okay, I'm not going to trade here because like I know I'm going to be, my attention is not going to be 100%. Right. Or like other things I've noticed, like if I go out, because, we are kind of degenerates here at the office. It's like we'll go out on a Wednesday and then I come in Thursday. I'm like, I am not trading. It's like, no, no, no,
I
no,
can't
no.
trade.
I can't. Right. And so again, it's a lot of learning along the
Yep.
way. But it's again, I don't know what else I would do. To be honest, like I don't know what else I would do. Like this is incredible. Like what kind of like
Yeah.
job do you have where you come in and this is what you do day in, day out? And you always have like I don't read the news anymore. I don't know about you. I don't read the news. I used to have a Wall Street Journal subscription when I was in school, whatever finance major. You have to have the subscription, right? And now I'm like, I know about this shit before they can even write an article. You know what I mean? Because it's like we get the squawk, whatever, all these headlines. It's like I already know that. It's like I don't
Right.
need some guy's opinion who doesn't he doesn't even know like what happened. It's like, oh well, they said this and then the market closed here. It's like, okay, but what was the immediate reaction? Right? It's like the immediate reaction was like we went up 1%. Right, like think of like a Powell thing. It's like, oh yeah, we go up 1% and we reverse, right? It's like they don't talk about that. Like it's you don't get the full picture, I don't think. And so that to me, it's like I don't do that anymore, right? That's like now I read like started reading actually Lord of the Rings. I've never read it. But
So
it's like I do that.
that's just like your escape then. So
Yeah,
for reading for you, so some people will read books about trading. To your point,
I do
there are
that
some
too.
people that read the paper and try to, let's say, big picture piece some things together. But
Yeah.
for you, it sounds like you're in that environment so often, and you can go to that environment pretty much whenever you want, right? Aren't there?
Right. Actually, I need less of it. As you said, it's an escape because it's like I'm constantly surrounded by it. It's like I don't need to be listening to podcasts. It's ironic. It's like here we are doing this thing, and it's like sometimes when it's like me getting guests, I'm like, well, I don't know anyone because I don't listen to the outer. Like I have these guys. Like I don't need to listen to anyone else's like podcast or information. Which is why now it's of course funny. It's also too funny for me because it's like I never anticipated that I would be doing like content, right? And now here I am, like
Now here you
coming
are.
on the happy hour. It's like, hey everyone, like welcome to my world. But yeah,
so
it's great.
tell me what you've migrated to now that you've had some chance to get your feet wet and settle in and figure out what you're not
With trading,
good at. What are you good at now? What is evolving for you
yeah.
that you're good at that's working for you?
So recently, I caught the golden short. That one, I caught it like I was sick when I went home, and it's like I woke up to an alert, a trading view alert on my phone, and I was like time to manage the position. You know what I
Nice.
mean?
So did you had a trade set up and what did you do? You got into a trade and you set alerts?
Yeah.
Is that
So right. So basically, there was a gap back in January on Goldman, and
okay? So you were playing a gap. You were playing for a gap fill trade.
I waited for the gap to fill, and then I
Got you.
shorted.
Okay.
Right.
Yep.
And so what I actually started off with, and this is kind of interesting because I hadn't done this before. I sold Jan calls, right? Out of the money, collected like $5. And it was just more of like I might not be right. You know what I mean? It's like I could be wrong in this way, it'll be a little bit of wiggle room. And I basically like nailed kind of the top, right? At least at the time. Like I was never not profitable on it. But then as soon as I saw that, I was like, okay, now I'm gonna like go long puts, right? For December. It's like, okay, I still want a little bit of time, but you're gonna let this thing cook. And it's like, okay, now let's like put on more risk, but in a different manner. And of course, I mean, whatever, I only caught like a little bit of the whole move, of course, but that's usually what happens. So it's like, yeah, I was just going along these December puts, and then I would just take it off at the 8-day moving average. Like that's just where I had my alert set, and I did that twice before it like really died. And then at that point, I only had the short calls on, which I closed out in the airport yesterday.
Nice.
But you know what I mean? It's like that to me is like new. I haven't been putting on overnight risk in this market, and so like that's something I've been trying to get not more comfortable with. But it's like there's a lot of opportunity there.
So that instance was you found a technical event and an opportunity where you felt like you had some probability and you put on a trade with some time, and to me it sounds like you're more comfortable looking for that type of an event or trade as opposed to what you just described as you're horrible at day trading.
Yeah. So the day trading itself is fine. Like I caught like a little Boeing off the 8 today, right? Sure.
Okay. Yep.
But it's for me, it's like the SPY. It's like I can't be doing the same day SPY because those or Qs, whatever. It's like those absolutely destroy me because again, I'm just not fast enough to react when I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's like no scalping, but yeah, like I like selling when things are over their ATR. I like writing options, especially if it's like at a level, right? Or like kind of counter trend, like if we're in a downtrend and all these moving averages are pointing down, but it's especially like a Boeing. A Boeing is usually a good example of that, right? And it's like, oh, but it's up 4% today, and it's like it's over its ATR. It's like cool. I'm gonna sell some calls, right? Yeah. So it's stuff like that where it's I'll still day trade, but it's like I try to hold on, throughout the day. Where it's like, okay, if we break highs, like, and of course, also like if you can't tell, I'm not really going long anything in this market.
It's hard to go long in this market.
I'll miss the upside. I'm totally fine missing upside on a lot of these trades.
Yep.
And it's like, hey, the upside is incredible. Like, look at Goldman. It rallied like 80 points in 2 weeks. That's a huge amount of upside.
Yep.
But I think I don't know, that for me has been difficult. And of course I worry because Jesus, he's a big proponent of like, he's a long only guy,
Yep.
but he's going to be very ready when things turn around because like he's a long only guy, right? Whereas I might be, the bear that's just like, oh, I'm trying to short again. And it's like, no, like the regime has changed, now it's like, see ya bears, like goodbye, right? And so that's it. So again, like I try to incorporate some long, but it's definitely mainly like going short.
So and do you have just a handful of equities that you like to keep an eye on for those opportunities?
Yeah, that's another big thing I learned. I learned that from you actually, because I used to look at the flow a lot, sort of, and like not chasing the flow, but you're trading off of the flow. And now I look at the flow way more as, for new names, first of all, because that's like the one thing that's really interesting to me is like, hey, like because that's what's gonna happen at the end of all this is we're gonna see some weird growth name that's like $7 catch like disgustingly large orders for like 7 months out. And then that's going to be like the new leader that goes like 5x. Right. And so that's more of what I look at it for now is like finding those new names. And then also too, like if all of a sudden, like if I'm short something and then all of a sudden there's like a lot of weeklies coming in like against me, that's a warning sign that like, hey, like you might need to reevaluate this trade like now.
Right.
And then you want to see like, is there a reaction? So it's more of that where I'm like looking, like I form my own trade ideas, and then it's like the flow is kind of like it's like a warning sign if like it could go against me, or if like some new name that I want to write down and keep an eye on.
How much influence do the other traders in that room and at their desks have on what you're doing?
I'd say zero, to be honest.
You what?
I'd say zero. I pretty much like ignore what everyone else is doing because like it's like I know what I kind of know, again, it's like I know what I'm doing. It's now about like consistently building that out and like, building the account up, building more size, right? Getting more comfortable with that. And so I don't really want someone coming in and like trying to like reteach the wheel, right? Like they're trying to like redo that. And then that's fine. Cause again, like and this is what I've noticed being around you, Lucci, Jesus, where everyone has a different style of trading, and it's like, we'll use a lot of similar aspects. Okay. Like Lucci, for example, like Lucci doesn't use levels, and that's totally fine. But like for his trading, that's fine. But it's like, I need levels. Like that's how I trade. Because like I'm looking at specific areas to enter or exit because it keeps my dumb dropped on the head brain from like overthinking something. It's like, again, it's like, hey, you enter here, it's invalidated here, right? And you're taking profits here. Like that's it. And then I'm not going to overthink it. I'm not going to care about news. I'm not going to care about, the CFO got arrested for biting dude's nose, right? Remember the Beyond Meat guy? It's like none of that matters. It's just like, hey, you're looking at areas and you're either right or you're wrong. And if you're wrong, cool, revisit it, right? That's another thing. I was very bad at re-engaging, and I've gotten much better at that, because when you only look at 5 or 6 names, you can kind of like just you're always in tune with it, because it's not like you're not looking for that next thing. It's like, okay, where's the next spot where this would be? Where's the next level, right? Okay, you set an alert there, and then I go do some work. Handle some customer inquiry, right? You know what I mean? That's like you do something else, you walk around, whatever, and like that's helped a lot too. And again, like you would say CTFD, man, like you aren't freaking out about like, oh my god, like, and I mean I'm still guilty of that occasionally, but
or creating scenarios that don't exist.
Right.
And then you convince yourself that the scenario does exist, you trade that, and then you realize, wow, the scenario doesn't exist. I need to get this position off again. So I think that happens to a lot of traders when they're unable to recognize that it's a period or a refractory period in the trading day, and that happens often.
I was gonna say, I actually wanted to ask you this too. Like I figured, like after I hosted Kenny and Chris, it's like I think I have interim host credentials. Like you mentioned at the beginning that you were like jealous of my position, like now, like doing this at my age. And I
Yeah.
was gonna say, like, what do you think about that for you? Like looking back on your journey, like is this something that you would have like basically like me, where I was just like, I'm not even attempting the corporate shit. Like I'm not even gonna sniff at it, right? Or do you think that like sort of your path was necessary to create like the trader that we all know and love, Ronchero?
Well, my path was necessary only because when I was your age and doing what I was doing, the market wasn't the same from the standpoint of access to the retail trader. Like if you wanted to be a trader, the only place you could go was to a firm
Okay.
and try to get a job on a desk, right? And whether that
Right.
was, let's say, working at the SIBO and running tickets for a market maker, hoping that you'll get an opportunity to move your
Right.
way up, or going to work
Okay.
for, Goldman and being trained as an actual trader on the floor or on one of their desks. Like that was the only avenue to that type of a job that was available. And it was very
Okay.
difficult to get those jobs. You either knew somebody that was
Yeah.
able to get you in, or you had pedigree from from a large or from a highly respected institution,
An
right? Like a Harvard or
MIT
Yale or
or yeah.
exactly, right?
Yep. Yep.
Then there
Exactly.
was kind of like, back in the day, it was like a big it was a big rush to who can get their CFA and become an analyst, right? Because
Yeah.
and that work is very grueling. It's very painful. It's long hours, and those are not necessarily the guys making the money either, right? So
No.
that was also a quote unquote path. And then there was the path as a broker, because that's as close as you could get if you couldn't get your foot in the door at those other jobs. Whereas today it's like, well, listen, if you've got some capital and you want to get into the capital markets, you have better tools today at your desktop and at the mouse
Yeah.
than you did back when I was your age, trying to, if you were trying to just trade or day trade or swing trade, which was, you primarily had to do that. And options certainly weren't as actively traded as they are
Right.
today. And you didn't get the same type of action on options
Right. I was
that
gonna say
you
like
do
Jesus.
today.
Jesus talks about that where it's like it was a hedging instrument. Like
It
that's what
was,
options were.
it
And now
was
it's
like,
like, no, this is the vehicle that we trade. Like the options
yep,
volume is more than the stock volume, right?
yeah,
It's like that wasn't a thing. Okay, I mean that's interesting because in a sense it's like what you talked about where it's like, in a sense, like you're getting coffee for this guy hoping that you'll like,
right.
get hired. I mean, that's kind of what I did, right? Where it's like I just
Sure.
like took on. I mean, in a sense, right? Like, okay, I was writing webinar notes, but
Yeah,
I mean, it's the same thing. It's like you're unpaid, like you're just showing that you can work and that like you can provide value, and then hopefully they take a shot. And so no, I thought that was interesting because it's like okay, it's still a little similar, right? Where
that
you do
mentality,
need that. You
yeah,
need that
that
mentality,
mentality
right?
still exists, I think, because if you've got a Charlie or a Lucci, they're not just going to reach into their pocket and be like, oh, Matt, you're wonderful, you have these great
It's not a
credentials, we can pay
charity.
you.
It's not a charity.
No,
That's the
they're like,
thing.
hey, you prove to me that you're willing to go above and beyond, and then once you do, I'll determine whether I think you have what it takes to actually help me make money, and then we can
Yeah.
talk about you making money, right? Like
Right. Right.
that mentality in this business still hasn't changed that much, right?
Right. So what would you say? What would you say? Because again, like as I said, like my friends aren't involved, right? They don't
Yeah.
they don't know any of this, and I'm a big believer. And I'd say that Chris Cady kind of like he instilled that in me too, where it's like you're gonna have to learn how to trade eventually, right? At some
Yes.
point, like okay, Druckenmiller, right? He had this interview, and he's just like, "What if we just go range bound for 11 years, like we did back in the 80s or whatever?" Right? It's like, yeah, what if? Like, oh, buy the dip, investing. Well, your money's not doing anything for a decade, right?
You know what? If the market shops sideways for 11 years, I'll be a happy guy. Like,
Oh, right. I mean,
like if I
that from
can,
a trader's
if I can
perspective,
trade
it's
grain for 11
incredible.
years, I'm golden.
Right.
Like, I know.
But that's the thing. But that's what's so interesting is it's like people don't understand that,
Yeah.
and that's just where it's like I was just like kind of curious, and I'm glad that we did this because my hope is that some young, I'm assuming people that are watching this, if you are younger, like you're probably interested in trading or you would be watching this. But for people to like really take that leap and to just realize that like no one's waiting on you, man. No one's waiting to save you. No one's like you have to do it yourself. Like you have to take those chances.
And
And
I
you have to
think
be okay with failure too. I think that's
that
that's a
too,
big
for
one.
sure. And I think you
Um,
have to be okay with people, saying things like, well, you're going to do that as like a job. Like
oh yeah,
can you
you have
actually
to be
make
fine
money
with
doing
people
that?
talking
Like I
shit
hear
about
that
it.
all the time. Like,
Yeah,
why would you
yeah.
encourage somebody to do that? That's not a job. And it's like, well, it
See, it's
is.
funny you say that though, because that's how it was. That's how it started for me. And now it's like I was talking to this guy when I was back home, and older guy, and he was like, "Let me know when you start taking on like outside money." And I was just like, "Okay, like chill, like you know what I mean?" It's like that's going to be a little bit, but again, it's that perception is like slowly changing, where it's like, yeah, I think people in my generation are more of because it goes against the grain, right? It goes against what they're doing, right? They're
Yeah,
like,
for
no,
sure.
you have to have a well-paying, stable job and be a
Yep.
middle manager at Kroger. And it's just
Yeah.
like, okay, like or not. And I think some of the older people are like, wait a minute, like if this guy is actually good, like he's gonna make me a lot of money. And so they see that. And again, I think that's why I like hanging out with like the older people here. I mean, of course I like hanging out with the young guys too. But it's like I love hanging out with the older people because they have that wisdom. And it's like these are the people you want to pick their brains, man.
Yep.
It's like I want to talk with you. It's like I don't really give a shit about the life experience of a 24-year-old. Like, yeah, like you can relate to it, sure, but it's like I want to learn from the people who have done it because like I didn't listen to my parents a lot growing up, and I still don't really, right? But
Yep.
they were right.
Yep.
In the end, they were right about a lot of stuff. And it's like, there's a reason why.
Yep.
So yeah, I just think again, if you can have these conversations and if you can really just like show to that younger generation, that your audience that like this is worth pursuing. And of course it's not easy, right? Like I'm still struggling with that, but it's like I can't go back. I see it now. You know what I mean? I see it. You see the people that have made like even like yourself, Lucci, some of the guys at the office, where it's like this is what they do,
Yeah.
and they can do that forever. It's
Yep.
like you can't go back to like no, I'm gonna work a 9 to 5.
Yep.
I'm gonna go back and have a boss. And I mean, come on, like you love your vacations. It's like you love traveling, and it's like
Yeah.
you can't. There's no way a boss would give you that amount of time. No
No.
way.
No.
And I think that it's just like I can't go back. It's like you see the other side. And I mean not to be kind of like cringy, but it's like sort of like that the Matrix, like the red pill, blue pill, right? Where it's like you
Yeah.
just once you see the other side of like the realms of possibility, you can't go back to like the boring, consistent lifestyle, right? So
Yep. Well, I definitely see all of the drive, and I mean, this has been a really good conversation. I would love
yeah,
to follow up with it again because
for
I'd
sure. We'll
like
have to
to
get
hear
Norse on
like,
now that he's down here. We'll have to get him
yeah,
back
we'll get
on
Norse on
or
too.
something. We'll
I
get him
like it.
on.
So I do like talking to somebody in your age category, because I think there probably are a ton of people out there wondering, hey, how do I do this? Is it viable? Are you having success, et cetera, right? I think it's a valuable conversation to have. And if
Yeah.
people, if you're listening and this is up on YouTube, come on over to Sang Lucci and find Matt and send him a
Yeah,
direct
I was gonna say,
message. I'm
send
sure
me.
he'd
I
be
was
happy
gonna
to
say,
talk to
or
you.
yeah, if anyone has any questions, like feel free to reach out. Just send me an email. I was
Yeah,
joking, of course, with Jesus earlier about email contact, but yeah, it's just matt@sanglucci.com. It's like
yeah,
I'm more than
there you go.
happy to talk about my experience, or if you want to take a shot and like try to intern with us, right?
There
Like,
you go.
let me know. Let me know.
Yeah,
But hey,
cool.
thanks, Ronch. It's been
Yeah,
great.
thank you, Matt. All right, have a great night. Thanks for coming by, everybody.
Yeah, thanks.
See ya.
Take care, people.